Oh, I just can't wait to talk basketball. What's up? Welcome back to Top Chair Sports. It's Tuesday. I'm Spencer, all by myself still, but we are talking basketball. Just like I said yesterday, you watched the video. If you didn't, go watch it. I talked baseball. Doesn't matter. We're here to talk basketball today. Last week, Brett kind of detailed what we were going to be doing, covering about 3 teams every week leading into the season. I'm covering the West, he's covering the East. We're going worst to first based off of last year, and I will get right into that in just a second. But few things to just clear up from this past week. Chris Paul is most likely going to be staying with Oklahoma City now after the trade that sent Russell Westbrook to the Rockets so that he was teamed up with James Harden once again. This is good for the Thunder because it means that they probably won't have to trade any of that, all the draft compensation that they've gained from the trades that they've pulled off this year, trying to move Chris Paul. In other news, the Bucks signed Kyle Korver, so that's another guy who Brett and I have been saying, similar to Danny Green, similar to Steph Curry, a guy that pretty much could play anywhere, providing solid depth. He goes to the Bucks, so good on the Bucks. I really like that signing. Now, on to the worst teams from the West last year. From worst to third worst, it was the Phoenix Suns, the Dallas Mavericks, and the New Orleans Pelicans. So let's start with the worst team, the Suns, and what they did to maybe improve. So overall, the offseason for the Suns, I would say, is underwhelming. I would probably give them an F. I'd give them a Z, honestly. It is the worst letter grade I could possibly give them because it was not a good offseason for the Phoenix Suns. If I had the poop emoji like Brett, I would be holding that up right now. What they did was they signed Ricky Rubio and Frank Kaminsky, 2 veterans who I'll say are capable players, but overall they really don't do anything for me. The only positive I can see in this is pairing Ricky Rubio, a guy who's a decent facilitator, with a guy like DeAndre Ayton. This should help Ayton improve after his rookie season, but overall Ricky Rubio is only going to do so much for the Suns, and they paid a lot for him, which is going to be a bad move. To add to the overall confusion that the Suns offseason has provided, they drafted Cameron Johnson way too high, netting them Super Dario, Yahoo! From the Timberwolves, but they ended up using that 6th overall pick to grab Jarrett Culver. Now, the Suns could have taken Culver, they could have taken Kobe White. Obviously, if they were planning on bringing in Rubio, White wouldn't have made sense, but Culver, a great forward, is better than taking Dario and Cameron Johnson. Not a fan of it at all. They also, through the draft, got Ty Jerome while acquiring Aaron Baines. Also a questionable move. Not really sure how I feel about it. Then, through the trade market, not through the draft, the Suns added Javon Carter and Kyle Korver, who, if you remember, signed with the Bucks because they bought him out immediately after trading for him. And they gave up Josh Jackson, who still has a ton of potential in my opinion, and DeAnthony Melton, a 2020 and a 2021 second round pick. So they gave up a lot for these 2 guys, ended up buying one out and keeping one. Javon Carter is fine, but they gave up way too much. This is by far one of the worst trades I've seen, and a terrible, terrible offseason for the Suns. In an offseason that was make or break, they needed to kind of work and potentially build around Devin Booker. They did re-sign Kelly Oubre, which was a move that I did like. He's a solid player, but other than that, terrible, terrible offseason for the Suns. But we've got good news. The Mavericks had a busy and I'll say good offseason. They re-signed the Latvian unicorn Kristaps Porzingis, giving one of my favorite duos, Luka and KP. I cannot wait to watch those guys on the court. They're going to be a ton of fun. They gave Dwight Powell an extension, and he had a really solid year last year for them. They re-signed Dorian Finney-Smith, who's coming off his best year, and not for nothing, they kept some depth with Maxi Kleber and JJ Barea. I just spit during saying that, so that's disgusting. They also added Seth Curry, who, like I just said, a guy that pretty much any team could have used. And big man and love of Tobias Harris's life, Boban Marjanovic. We'll miss you, Bobby. What the Mavs have after this offseason is some good depth and a lot of solid shooters, actually. So I expect them to be one of the most improved teams from this past year. And then last but not least, one of my favorite off seasons, the team that finished third worst in the West last year, the New Orleans Pelicans, are one of the teams that I foresee pulling off like a worst to first situation. They aren't the worst team and they are not going to be the best team next year. But I do honestly see them being a low-seeded playoff team. So they made something out of nothing. They lose the best big man in the league in Anthony Davis. But what they netted in return from the Lakers is Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, the 4th overall pick, which turned into DeAndre Ayton, which they then turned into the 8th and 17th overall pick. So just in that trade alone, don't even take into account the draft compensation. You just look at the 3 players they got, and they got guys who can fill some really key roles for them and fill out their lineup really well. And then you look at what they can do with the pick, the 4th overall pick, and then obviously the picks that they get for supplemental years. The 4th overall pick they turn into, like I said, the 8th and 17th overall pick, which are 2 extra picks on top of the 1st overall pick that they had to once again fill any needs that the team may have. So beyond that, there's free agency. They used free agency to sign J.J. Redick and Derek Favors, 2 guys who I think provide very good roles that they can fill. So through the draft then, they add Zion Williamson, who has the biggest hype around him since probably LeBron. Jackson Hayes, a big man who I think is very capable. Now you, again, pair him with Derek Favors as somebody who can maybe take some of the workload off of him in his rookie season. Again, these moves, they all just kind of fill out. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The Pelicans did a really good job. The draft is a bit underwhelming, but that was more because of the draft that we had at hand. So again, taking that 4th overall pick and using it to get 2 role players instead of 1 potentially is a move that I'm all behind. They're going to be probably one of the best well-rounded teams this year. I'm thinking circa Boston Celtics when they had Isaiah Thomas and were using 13 men pretty much every game. That's kind of what I see out of the Pelicans this year. A lot of guys who can play. None of them are really stars. I don't even think Zion's going to necessarily be a star this year. But they're going to play very well, and I think that they're going to play cohesively and be a playoff team. So look for them to be the team that comes the furthest out of the cellar this season, in my opinion. Take a deep breath. That will do it for me this week. So you got to see my beautiful face again, and now you get to see Brett's beautiful face tomorrow as he covers the NHL and everything that's been going on there. I will be back Monday for some more baseball, and then next Tuesday, just to kind of keep you guys in the loop, Brett will be back with the, 15, 14, 13, so he'll have 12, 11, 10 from last year in the East, and yeah, that'll do it. So leave a like on this video, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, ring the bell as they like to say, and I will see you guys Monday, and you guys will see Brett tomorrow.